Hey trainers, Professor Pokemon here, and today I'm going to be doing a demonstration of the recent Community Day Talonflame. So Talonflame is able to access the move Incinerate for its fast move. Incinerate is a really great move. I use it on pretty much everything that is able to learn it. So I have put together a team starting with Venusaur on the lead, and then I have Talonflame and Azumarill in the back to showcase Talonflame. This was a really good start for us because Venusaur is able to do super effective damage with Sludge Bomb, so they had to switch into something else, and that something else happened to be Skarmory. Skarmory is a hard counter to Venusaur, but it loses pretty hard to the Talonflame. As you can see, I have two moves equipped. I decided on Flame Charge. It builds up energy really fast. It strengthens the attack on Talonflame every time you use it. And then I also have Hurricane. Some people like Brave Bird, which is great, but Brave Bird, of course, lowers the defense stats pretty hard. So I opted for Hurricane because Hurricane still has a lot of power. It's still a flying type move, but it doesn't quite make Talonflame as vulnerable as it would be from Brave Bird. And what we lose out on there is offense, right? So we are able to get the last shield as we are going against Clefable, and then finally to use Sludge Bomb to feint it out. And then they have a water type in the back, so that's no problem for Venusaur. Hopefully you saw how much damage Incinerate did against the Clefable as well. We did as much damage to that Clefable in one hit as what we did with Venusaur the entire time before the swap. So Talonflame and Incinerate go really well together. It's a very, very strong combo. Okay, again, Venusaur on the lead, this time versus the standard Stunfisk. And eventually those Mud Bombs are going to start building up and doing a lot of damage, but we can tank a couple of them. And Venusaur is going to be able to take a lot more damage from this Stunfisk than the Stunfisk is going to be able to take from Venusaur. These Frenzy Plants are going to do a lot of damage. It was good that we started in this particular place because Mud Bombs and Discharges, the two moves that are so frequently associated with this Stunfisk, would have done a lot of damage to Talonflame. So we are able to use Venusaur to finish off the most serious threat. Now, we hit a Medicham, and Medicham can be really, really tricky, but Talonflame actually does really well against Medicham. That's because it has access to flying type moves. So they swapped into an Azumarill. Azumarill is a pretty good counter for Talonflame. And what we wanted to do here, so we don't have any great counter to Azumarill left, right? Our Venusaur is out of play. What I want to do here is just get Azumarill low enough with my own Azumarill for us to be able to come in with Talonflame, finish them off, and save our shield. So they ended up doing a swap. That meant I wanted to go ahead and do a swap too. I shielded up here because I couldn't remember if they had enough time to do anything other than Power Up Punch. But very importantly, we are going to get to that Hurricane, and it is super effective against the Medicham. So they're going to come in with Azumarill, and they'll be able to attack us with Ice Beam. But because they only had time to get to that Ice Beam, that did allow us the extra time to farm up energy and actually hit them with that Flame Charge. So that ended up working out pretty well too, even though we hit a difficult Pokemon in the back. Azumarill was kind of challenging to encounter there, but it worked out okay. All right, this time we have, again, Venusaur on the lead versus a Bastiodon. And Bastiodon is going to be taking a lot of neutral damage from these Frenzy Plants, but it does have a pretty intense defense stat. Bastiodon is really hard to take down for pretty much anything. I didn't have a great answer to Cresselia, but I knew that Talonflame could build up a lot of attack strength over time, and it would be able to tank things like Grass Knot and Moonblast. So at least we buy ourselves some time and do some damage by attacking with Talonflame and using moves like Flame Charge. Remember, every time you use Flame Charge, you're getting an attack boost, so that's really, really nice. and we are able to tank that move. And actually, so we saw here, Talonflame beats Cresselia, which is really tough to do. This person came in with a super bulky team, but we have been able to deal with all of their major challenges so far. So here we have Azumarill left in the back, and we really want to be able to use Azumarill to beat Bastiodon, right? That's the main thing that's going to be able to actually defeat their lead Pokemon. So I wanted to stick with Venusaur, get the Medicham really, really low, and then go ahead and go for Azumarill to try and feint it out. Now, the reason I shielded here is because I knew if they had Psychic, which is always a distinct possibility with Medicham, that would do a lot more damage to Azumarill than something like a Stone Edge or a Flamethrower. Fortunately, we don't have to find out whether they had Stone Edge because Azumarill is able to get to Hydro Pump before the Bastiodon could attack, so that worked out really nicely. And what we should take away from that match there is that Talonflame counters Cresselia. I think that's amazing. Cresselia is really tough to take down, and Talonflame is a great counter with Flame Charge. It is amazing. All right, so they start with Victini. That's really tricky. So we had to jump right away into Azumarill because Azumarill is actually going to do some super effective damage to Victini, whereas the Venusaur was going to be weak to both its fast and charge moves. Here I called their bluff on using a Mud Bomb to bait one of our shields. I was willing to let Azumarill go if that's what it took. But the main thing for me was to try and save shields. Now here I wasn't ready to lose the Venusaur yet, and I knew that whatever secondary attack that Toxicroak had was going to be pretty harsh. What I needed to do was beat that Toxicroak with enough energy left over that we could launch one of these sludge bombs against the Victini. So now it doesn't matter if the Venusaur goes down, at least that's what I thought at this point, because we have Talonflame to try and close the game. Unfortunately, what ended up happening is we hit a Bastiodon in the back, which is an absolute wall for Talonflame. It wouldn't matter what moves we were using, it was going to take us down no matter what. So that's kind of unfortunate. Two of our Pokemon could have handled Bastiodon, but Talonflame was not one of them. That tells us that we need to be careful against things like rock types, right? So Talonflame does have its weaknesses. It can get walled. We've got to be careful about how we manage applying the Talonflame. So this was an okay matchup on this last match. Venusaur is going to do a lot more damage with Frenzy Plant than Obstagoon is going to be able to do with Night Slash. So I stayed in this fight hoping that we could either get most of the shields or actually beat the Obstagoon. Obstagoon isn't a great match for any of the Pokemon that I included here, so that worked out nicely. Even though Venusaur could do super effective damage with its Poison-type move against the Wigglytuff, I thought this would be a good chance for us to start building up energy and building up the attack strength on our Talonflame. So they did go ahead and switch back to the Obstagoon, and we are able to launch a Flame Charge and basically take down the Obstagoon there. Of course, we've been building strength with every Flame Charge that we use, and they have a Grass type in the back, so that's pretty easy to take down. So the long and short of this is that I have really enjoyed the new Talonflame with Incinerate. It's nice to have a shiny one. Yesterday's Community Day was a lot of fun. I hope that y'all have been enjoying using Talonflame in the Open Great League as well, and please feel free to share some of your battle experiences with Talonflame in the comments. I'll talk to you next time.